Welcome to the Kansas City Business Cast. This is your host, Michael Reisinger. Hey, everybody. By the time this airs, we will be about 2 months into this whole movement. I thoroughly appreciate all of your engagement online, leaving the subscription reviews, ratings, all of those things. If you would kindly leave us reviews and share this episode, we really appreciate it. Hey, today's guest is Phil McDowell. This guy is awesome. He has helped me with my own business. I watch him do this on a regular basis, so full disclosure, I do know him. Phil is the CEO and founder of Armor Marketing and Philm Creative. Phil, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Thank you for doing this. So I think, our history, we go back a couple months here. We met earlier this summer. Yeah. And since that time, obviously, I joined up with Referral Madness, and you've been able to provide me some invaluable feedback on, how to brand myself, how to rebrand myself. And as I've gotten to know you and see how you market your services, you truly are doing something new and one of a kind in the city. I haven't seen anybody else doing it. Maybe you can correct me on that. But I think it's important for you to kind of tell everybody about what you do and how you got your start.
Yeah, man. No, I first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that it's doing you some good. So you're not wrong in a sense that, and I do tell people that the way that we're handling what we're doing, I haven't seen it like we're doing it either in Kansas City. So, which is exciting. So, and maybe I can explain that a little bit more. So, what we do is we provide custom content marketing at a membership level. So what that means, and it's done for you as much as you want it to be. You can be as involved in it, or you can just go, I don't want to think about this, make it happen, and we'll do that, right? So, so from that sense, yes, there are agencies out there that will create content and put it in a membership format, but the volume at which we're creating it at the price point that we offer, no one can touch us right now. We're just, our goal, our whole mission is to create as much content as possible for your business or your personal brand and to put it out on social media and the internet to where it is just constantly in people's faces. Maybe sometimes in a way that's like, oh, that's in my face, but it's really more of a, hey, when I wake up in the morning, most people are going to grab their phones and scroll. I know I do. Yeah, right. We want you to be there. And then as they're taking a break during the day or going to bed at night, they're scrolling. We want you to be there. So that's the idea, is massive action is the name of the game.
Yes, sir. Well, and that's the thing. I know this concept is going to be new for people, and obviously you market yourself and your services very well. Your website has comprehensive, the packages, you've got the prices. I know you're very transparent about that. So say I'm a business owner, which I am.
Let's just pretend you are.
I don't like doing the social media stuff, which is also true. And I'm looking for help. What would your process be like if, and what do you do with companies in this area? And you're nationwide too. So people can engage with you guys from other parts of the world, right?
100%. Okay, we're actually talking to a couple businesses right now in Georgia.
That's amazing. Yeah, congratulations on that too.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So what's your process like? I mean, from start to,
it's great.
I would say finish, but I know it's a journey.
Ongoing, right?
That's right.
That's a great question. So, so when we first connect, we sit down and we talk with you about your business, who you are, your mission, your vision, who your target audience is, how that's working for you. Should your target audience be different? Once we nail that down and we do the research to find out who exactly your target audience is and the things that they want to see, then we create custom content around your audience to put out there what they want to see, not what you think they should see, not what I think they should see, not if you feel good about it or feel bad about it. Yeah, I mean, okay, sure, you want to feel good about the content that you're putting out there, but ultimately you want to reach an audience. That's what it's all about. So that first, I'd say, 4 weeks or so, we are just getting to know, we're doing research and we're getting to know you and your audience so that we know when we start creating content, we're not just shotgun blasting and hope that we hit something, that we're actually creating content centered around your mission, your vision, your values, who you're going after, and how you want to be represented on the interwebs on the, social media and all that. Yeah.
Right. So I think, what do you think is most important? And like, when a company usually, and I know you work with companies that are in all stages of the journey, right? And I know you're able to work with well-established companies. Maybe they're looking for a refresh or a rebrand or whatever. And then, you're working with people who are just getting their start, like me. Like I didn't know how to communicate, and I'm still honing that and working on that. What do you think is most important when a company is trying to go out to the marketplace, and what's most important for them to communicate to their clients?
So the most important thing is authenticity. Like, right. It almost doesn't really matter too much what you're trying to sell, whether it's a service or a product. You want to make sure that what you're communicating is you authentically, right? So if that's what you're asking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can take inspiration, and we do this all the time in my field, is we look at what other people are doing, not to copy it from a standpoint of word for word and shot for shot, but can we take some inspiration from what they're doing, what's working for them, and how can we mold that to what can work for your specific business? So, you just got to get out there and start doing it, right? So I would say the most important thing is just to do it.
Right.
If that makes sense, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do initially, the directions you can go, and things that you can start with. If it's just, hey, we have this product and we want to get more eyeballs on it. We want the name of our business in more people's mouths. One thing that we do like to do is to go, okay, well, you've been in business. Well, maybe you haven't been in business long. Some people have been in business for a while. They want to, like you said, a refresh. Some people are just starting out. But everybody has questions about your business, no matter if it's brand new or you've been doing it for 20 years. Everybody has questions about your business. So a good place, I would say, is with that authenticity, is to answer those questions that people have so that they know who you are, what you're all about. You're open, you're honest, you have integrity in that. And to just answer those questions so that people don't have to guess what you do and why you do it.
Right.
It's a great place to start.
The enthusiasm that you have for this, and maybe we should kind of talk about the genesis of that too, because you started Philm Creative first, right? Yeah. And Philm Creative came from something else in your past, so you've kind of been on this evolving track to where now you're Phil from main armor marketing is your main deal, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe you can kind of talk about your origin story a bit, and why you got on this path, and why it's important for you to tell people. I love how I asked you about like, what are your tactics? And of course, like me, right? The way that my mind works, and I'm like always trying to connect dots, and you just like authenticity. Yeah. Like they need to know who you are, and start by answering your customers' questions, or even people out there generally. So where did this all come from? Man, because you just breathe this stuff.
Can I just say, like, to hear that from somebody outside looking in, like, that means a lot to hear that. Because on the inside of me looking out, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Like, it's, and I think everybody running a business at some level, at some point along their journey, I would say, maybe experiences that. And I think we've slapped a label on it. We call it imposter syndrome, right? And that's a big thing. It's a whole conversation that happens all the time. But yeah, so the origin story.
Yes, sir.
So let's see, since starting in 2005, I was my wife and I have been staff pastors. Like we aren't currently, we were for So 2005 all the way up until the end of 2017. So how, I don't know, what's the math on that? It's 12, 13 years. It's like, yeah, so something like that. Well, during my career, if you could see me right now, I'm air quoting career. During my ministry journey, you know, in ministry, you tend to wear several hats, especially, right? Because most churches in America aren't huge mega churches. That's like literally, I know a lot. We see them, and because they're on social and whatever, and they're doing a lot of stuff. That's literally 1% of churches in America are mega churches. 1%. Most churches in America are like, I think now the statistic is like 75 people or less. That's the majority of churches in America. The churches that I got to be a part of were probably in the top 10%. So they weren't tiny, but they weren't mega churches. And so you end up kind of taking on different roles and wearing different hats. And just because of me growing up wanting to be an actor and in front of the camera, I just always had an interest in that. And so somewhere along the way, I in an internship. Now I did do an internship at a megachurch, so that's one thing. But I learned how to do graphic design there, and I also learned how to start shooting and editing videos.
So just real quick, because I know this, but I don't know that folks know this. You were actually asked to like help certain groups within the church.
Yeah.
Right. And there was an absence of that information.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. So you were like the first graphic designer for said ministry.
Yeah. Yeah. So so we did our internship. I learned some of those things. We went to where we were actually on staff at a church.
Right.
We were hired as the children's pastors. Right. So we were responsible for kids that were like birth through the 5th grade. Well, also in that, and because of what I'd come out of in my internship with the trying to create things as fun and engaging for kids as possible to teach them about Jesus, I still wanted to continue that. Well, where I was, the church was probably about 300 people. If I wanted that to happen, I either had to find a volunteer that could do it or just do it myself. So I ended up doing a lot of it myself. Well, then I ended up doing a chunk of it actually not just for the children's ministry, but for the church as a whole. So that was the first place. The next place we were at, it was kind of the same thing. It started to morph a little bit more into video. Then by the third place we were at, it was like, that's kind of what I did. And then the last place we were on staff, I was the youth pastor, as well as the online campus pastor, as well as I was the production director for the church, which meant I was responsible for the lighting, all the audio visual
for worship services.
That's right.
And youth group nights and everything.
All of it. The way that the stage was actually laid out, like platforms, lighting, you name it. I was responsible for that. And then, I don't know, there was 4 or 5 more. I think at one point I was responsible for like 7 departments. Well, it was during that time as I was creating graphics, and I was like, hey, I think we're doing video announcements, and it's like it's graphics that kind of rotate with some music. And it got to a point I was like, nope, nobody knows what's happening at the church because no one is paying attention to these. Let's make it some videos. That'd be great. Maybe news anchors style. And they're like, oh, that sounds awesome. Can you do that? I was like, well, I can, but I'm going to have to not do as many. Anyway.
That's the thing in ministry and generally jobs. If it's your idea, you own it. Yeah, that's right. You're the one who's going to execute it.
That's so true.
Good idea. Why don't you get right on that?
Right. So I started doing that. Well, along the way, then I would have people in the church approach me and say, hey, my boss needs a promo video. Can you do it? And I was like, I can. And then they're like, here's the budget. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. So I figured out, and this was about 2014. by 2016, I was like, okay, I can do this as a bit of a side gig to help supplement income for my family. That's where Philm Creative was born. Philm, Philm, right? That's where it was born, as a side hustle to my ministry career, if you will. And it kind of just got to a place where, with what we were doing and how we were doing it, and even in those part-time job situations, side hustle gigs, we were beginning to see that we were having conversation in those businesses with people that would a lot of times end up talking about Jesus with people who would otherwise never set foot in a church. And so for me, my whole thing is, at the end of the day, these businesses are great. Making money is cool. But at the end of the day, my mission is ultimately, did I advance the gospel today? Like that's where I'm trying to live. Do I always live there? It's not always, but that's where, if I haven't advanced the gospel today, what am I actually doing? Am I just trying to create content and make money? Well, that all goes away eventually. So we felt like, okay, this is our next phase of ministry, is unconventional, full-time vocational ministry. It is in the marketplace. It is, how can we provide a service to you, but then just expecting that through that process, the Holy Spirit is going to guide us into a conversation that we get to have with you that, I don't know, maybe you don't give your life to Jesus right then, but I believe plants a seed to where now somebody who hasn't been thinking about what is my life worth and what am I contributing, now they start thinking about that. So by the end of 2017, we stepped out of full-time ministry to step into Philm Creative full-time. January 1, 2018, we were on our own. And that was the beginning of doing it how we're doing it. So then we did that until, I guess we still do it. So I know this is kind of a long story, but
no, we're here for it, man.
All right, cool.
We are here for it.
So let's see. I got to think of the dates now.
Yeah. You're kind of like Rain Man so far.
Yeah, that's
January 2017, yeah. I know video is in my future. I have to do video so people can see stuff like with you looking me in the eye, the finger coming down.
Right. You know what's funny though is, as I'm saying this stuff, I think back to my grandpa. I'm becoming the old man. Man, he knew dates. He could recall dates that I was like, dude, I don't know how you know that. And then it would turn into tangents and rabbit trails, just like I'm doing right now. I'm becoming my grandpa. Anyway, so it would have been the beginning of, I want to get this right because we're far into this, as I say, far into it. We're several years into running a business, but we are less than a year old for Armor Marketing. And I just kind of want people to understand how we got to what Armor Marketing is doing.
Absolutely.
And how it's different.
Right.
So I guess it's got to be 2 years ago now.
2021.
Yeah, it would have been the beginning of 21. And I don't know the
middle of the
date.
Pandemic.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So, and that's the thing too for video. Like, okay, so when the pandemic hit, we had people go, well, we need video because we're not being able to go places and connect with people. And how are we going to do this and that? So Philm Creative actually did very well that year. Very well. So what happened was, as we were creating so Philm Creative was basically a production studio, just creating what I call story brand videos and then commercials, promotional material, but also we would do complete brand packaging and things like that. So if you need a logo.
So a mixture of a la carte and then also project oriented, like start, finish.
Correct.
Deliverable.
100%.
Got it.
So that was what Philm Creative was.
Right.
So, but then we had a number of our clients like, all right, we have all this great content. What do we do with it? Where do we put it? How do we distribute it? So we just started consulting, hey, this would be a great idea. You could do that. You could put it here. This is da. To where then we felt like it was we needed to do our due diligence and be like, look, we can really help these people, these businesses, if it's not just, hey, here are some suggestions, but actually say, this is what you should do with it, and we can help you do that. So, Philm Creative, then, we built kind of a marketing arm to Philm Creative. That was, we're a production studio. We are a production studio, but then we can also market that stuff for you. That's where it started. And the kind of the beginning stages of it were really, we'll post a couple times for you a week or a month and this and that and the other. And then, then we got a wild hair by listening to a gentleman named Grant Cardone. And he has inspired me. I know, and I get it. People are either, they either love him or they hate him. There's not a lot of people who are in between on him. And I get it. There have been some things that he has said, though, that have resonated with me, and I'm like, okay, that's right. So in just listening to his stuff and going and being a part of the conferences online and stuff like that, it was last February 14th, Valentine's Day. Was actually watching online with our buddy Corey Finley.
Yes, sir.
And we were actually watching it at Kingdom Studios.
Here, which is where I am today, by the way. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, dude. Well, let's
Kingdom
thank
Studios,
Corey.
KC. Yes, absolutely.
We've got to thank Corey for his vision on this, and Armor Marketing offices out of Kingdom Studios. It's been great. Maybe we can get into that a little bit later.
We will for sure.
So we're sitting here, and we kind of just, as we're listening to this stuff, he was going through some similar things just in his businesses and what he was trying to do. We kind of challenged each other, but then the kind of the brain. The I don't know, the brain power, brainchild, whatever, the little our little, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, our little baby
seed, yeah.
hits me with all this that's happening, and I'm like, we can take what we're doing right now with Philm Creative, and if we really want to help these businesses be known, we got to ratchet this thing up, because what we're doing right now is nice, but it's like we're trying to fill the Grand Canyon by throwing it brick by brick. You're never going to do it. You are never going to do it.
The demand on social media,
yeah,
the variation in all the platforms,
yeah,
and their respective strengths and the audiences, it literally is like that.
Yeah.
It's an unquenchable fire or a Grand Canyon that cannot be filled.
Right.
It requires massive action.
Does.
And intention.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so that's when we've got to take it up a level, and we were trying to do that initially. We thought Philm Creative was going to be able to do it, but I thought we need to kind of cut this and start fresh. So Armor Marketing is things I've been doing for years. It just got a different name on it. It's just in different packaging because I didn't want to muddy the waters. So we took that marketing arm off of Philm Creative and let Philm Creative be a production studio. That's all it is now. It's just if you need a high-end commercial or story brand video or something along those lines, you would reach out to Philm Creative. Armor Marketing then is the massive action content creation, and that's video, it's graphics, it's photography, and curating all of that to fit your brand and just pump massive amounts of it into the social media space. And the idea is we're not looking to go every time we sit down to come up with content for you. We're not trying to answer the question, how can this video be viral? We just aren't.
Right.
You can't do that. If you try to make every video viral, you will drive yourself crazy and almost nothing will be. So we're not even looking for how can we create this to be viral? Because I don't really care too much if one of your videos is just viral and that's it. We want to create content for you. It all goes back to the authenticity of who you are. That I know that if I come to this business over time, I can be assured that I'm going to get what I expect to get. Like you go to any Starbucks across the nation, you order a vanilla latte, you expect it's going to taste the same, no matter where you're at.
Right.
Any of these chains. So that's kind of the idea is We want people to know what they're getting from you. Now, are we going to be creative with the different stuff that we're creating for you? Sure we are. Are we going to try new things? You bet we are. But it's never going to veer off of this is who you are from an authentic standpoint. And we're just going to create massive amounts of action around that and just say, go, 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 go. So that's, long story longer. That's how it came to be.
I love it. And just before we go on to the next sort of segue here into Armor Marketing, why you call it that and what you're most excited about it, I want to talk to you about the growth, what you think people need to be aware of with AI. We're going to get into all that stuff. And this may be the first 2-part podcast, honestly, because as you're talking, and this happens all the time. Yeah. So, we were talking last Friday on your, can I say, your upcoming, you're going to have a podcast coming out.
Hopefully by the time that this one hits, we're already rolling.
I'm taking Christmas and New Year break. It's just going to be a bunch of 5 minutes to learn stuff, and then yours will probably be either the first or second one in January. But we'll talk more about that too. If we got to be more strategic, we can do that. Cool. But you said something in that conversation that has to do with what you had just said about, if you try to make everything viral, you're going to not kill yourself. You said you'll make yourself crazy. But you said in that room right next to us, again, because Kingdom Studios is huge and awesome, you said done is better than perfect.
That's right.
And the other thing just about Grant Cardone, because you and Corey were the ones who introduced me to him. Now, I listened to his haters first, and I let that keep me away from him for about a month. Then I saw Undercover Billionaire, Grant's version, the behind the scenes. And Grant Cardone Capital's not paying us anything for this episode, but I just need to tell you how powerful it's been when I watched him go through Undercover Billionaire and how he started it not once but twice because COVID. And then he's given the behind the scenes. I'm like, this is a guy who loves his family.
Yeah.
He loves helping people. He also is just one of those divergent thinkers that, like, he sees people going one way, he's like, what are they all missing? I'm going to go that way. And the way he finds a way to get sleep and get a safe place to sleep and get food without paying $1 in that show.
Yeah.
And your whole massive action thing reminds me of, the 10X rule, sell or be sold, which I just went through. And I loved about what he said. I thought of you too. If I didn't text you this here, I'm telling you now on the podcast. But when he says that the number one enemy of a business, especially when starting out, is obscurity. And I think he's the father of the, if they don't know you, they can't flow you.
That's it, baby.
But his whole thing is you're going to spend time committing action.
Yeah.
You can decide if you're going to waste your time or if you're just going to do just what's required, or if you're going to use your time to do massive action.
Right.
So anyway, a little tangent on that.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else to say about Grant or anything like that?
Well, so out of his Undercover Billionaire, that was ultimately the initial inspiration for where I'm at with Armor Marketing right now.
It just occurred to me. Yeah. Because he builds
Yes.
He builds a marketing agency, right, with the people in that town. They're all still going too, I think.
They are. Wake Up Pueblo.
That's right. And the thing about that too was everybody thought it was crazy.
Yeah.
And they were like, what do you mean, what are you selling?
Yeah.
You're selling nothing. And I know you get asked that return on investment question.
ROI, baby.
You and me, like, the hair stands up. I know it happens with Corey and everybody in our group, but like explaining that to people. And it's like, you get into this with Armor too. You talk about evergreen content, how when you make a video, it's there. And if you did it right, it can stay there for a few years, but
or ever. Legit.
Right. So why did you call it Armor Marketing? So you and your wife decided, hey, we're going to take our own advice. We're going to make something specific for this. Philm's going to be a production studio. Yeah. Why Armor?
And so let me just mention real quickly.
Yeah.
It's probably good to mention that. So when I started Philm Creative, it was my wife, Kristen, was she was fulfilling another role. She was a para for a school here in the local district. Well, a couple of months in, and dude, we can talk about entrepreneurship and all that roller coaster of a freaking ride. Like, holy cow! So I'll just tell you. So first month, I replaced my income from the church 100%. The second month we were in business, I doubled my income, and I was like, okay, Lord, right. So at the end of the second month, I hired my wife. She actually came to work for Philm Creative, and we did Philm Creative together. Month number 3, we hardly made any money.
Mm-hmm.
And started the roller coaster. It was a click, 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 and then here we go. And it had been a ride. So when we stepped into Armor Marketing, I did not ask Kristen to come along with me. She has another job in marketing, which is awesome, but we didn't put all of our eggs in this one basket on purpose. So she's 100% support for me on this, but she's not integrated into the company like she was with Philm Creative, just to kind of
Sure.
But yeah, so the meaning behind Armor Marketing is it's the full armor of God. Like, that was the inspiration for it. Like, every single day when we get up, we have got to put on the full armor of God if we are going to stand a chance in the battlefield, spiritual battlefield, and just life's battlefield. So that's the inspiration behind it. And my kind of vision for it is, as the armor, and we don't look, I mean, I want people to understand this too. We respect everybody. I'm not trying to jam religion down your throat. So please don't hear that. But this is just for who I am and what Jesus means to me.
And we do not ever censor our guests on this show.
Great.
So,
and I appreciate
everybody's
that.
going to get to say what they need to say.
Perfect. But I'm also sensitive to just, I get life.
Absolutely.
I get it. So, but we want to be, as we come into help a business, it's not just about, I want to sit down with you and take dollars from you just so that I can create a business. I want for your business to actually do well. And so Armor Marketing is kind of, it's like that armor, that covering over the business to go, you're not in this alone. We are here to help you bolster what you're already doing. And it's not about, we're trying to change you as a company. We're just trying to, like you said, like Grant said, they got to know you to flow you. Your name has to be in people's minds, in front of their eyeballs, and in their mouth. So we're here to help give that extra bolster of, we're gonna help you armor up so that you can take on this content battleground, as it were, because everybody's trying to be in it. So, but that's where it came out of. It was right out of the Bible, out of the full armor of God. And so we believe that we needed to do what we need to do in order to help you do what you need to do. So that was the idea behind why it's armor.
Absolutely. And you have grown your team since starting this 2 years ago, right? Yeah. So tell us about your team. And I guess that's part of the firepower.
Yeah, right.
Talking about armor and weapons, right? Yeah, the things that you can bring to a company when they hire you on.
100%. So here, the deal in this day and age is, if you're going to hire like a full-on marketing director, like you're going to spend $100,000 a year or more. Good luck finding one.
Marketing director, because I'm a recruiter.
Yeah,
that's about 120 to 180,000 a year.
There you go. And good luck finding a good one.
And there's incentives if you do good. They're going to expect to get a cut of that pie. Yeah. So nothing against them. If they can do it, great.
That is great.
Let's talk about the real cost, right?
Right. That's the real cost. And for some businesses, that is what they need. But for other businesses that aren't doing that, we're an entire marketing department for a fraction of the cost of what you would hire one person to direct a team that then hopefully they find the right people on the team. So we take on that whole responsibility.
Which we're talking 80,000 for a social media marketing manager.
Yeah.
All those positions, those all have dollars.
Benefits, I think right now in Kansas City,
workers' comp.
What is that? Maybe you've looked at this. In Kansas City, a social media manager is like at least a minimum $70,000 a year, minimum.
Yeah, depending on the company size,
right, and their experience and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So that's on top of your director, and then now you got to think about videographers, and now you got to think about editors, and I mean, just video editing alone can be $200 an hour, right? I mean, like it's
Right.
not anyway. So we have a team of people. It's a team of people, and you don't pay extra. If I need another videographer or I need another editor, I don't push that cost on you, right?
Right.
Your membership stays the same. That's it. Your membership doesn't go up, doesn't go down. Your membership stays the same no matter what I need on my team to do. So our team right now consists of an executive assistant. It's phenomenal. Marie, I mean, she actually, so she works remotely. She lives in Alabama. I've known her for, oh my word. I've known her since 2007, I think. We actually were in ministry together. So if I can just talk about Marie real quick. Her husband's name is Donnie. Literally, it's Donnie Marie. How funny is that? So we love that. But you know, they're from Alabama, and her Southern hospitality and charm, it's so good. Love it. So thank you, Marie. But then we have currently 3 videographers, a social media manager, 2 social media managers, 3 editors. Some of those guys and gals pull dual roles.
Right.
So it's not like, well, they have, what is that, 12? No, our team currently is 7, including myself. So you're getting that whole team to manage all that stuff, to create that stuff. And, you know, it's going to cost you less than half of what you would hire a full-on marketing director for.
Right. On the subject of personnel, before we pivot off, because
Yeah.
I know you're currently, as of this month,
Yeah.
you're trying to add somebody to your team, right? What's
right.
that opening like?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking that. No,
Yes,
so
sir.
we need someone that can just handle going out and making sales. We need a sales rep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The rest of us are so like we're churning out content, ideas, things like that right now that's kind of my role. Me and Marie are together trying to tag team that. And it's okay. We need someone dedicated to that. And it can be as full or as part-time as somebody would want it to be. And right now it's basically 100% commission.
Absolutely.
So, but you can make as much as you want at it if you're rolling deals. So,
right.
And I feel like our commission structure is pretty good on that. So,
it's amazing.
Yeah. So,
you know, with that, I mean, what are some of the lessons you've learned as you've done this, you know, and what do you think? Because here's the thing about all these episodes. So, you know, I have a purpose for doing all of this. Like, I'm number one, I want to meet people in Kansas City that are doing badass stuff. And, you know, haven't yet written a New York Times bestseller, haven't been on, you know, the some whatever name award thing or whatever here, because, you know, LinkedIn is chocked full of memes from every author you've ever heard of. Grant's one of them, right? We see his stuff all the time. But another thing is I'm trying to wake people up that are in the spaces that my guests are operating in. So someone out there is beating their head up against, you know, leadership that won't listen to them. Someone out there is trying to pivot. There have been so many layoffs, especially in the city. We've had companies lay people off by the thousands. You know, I'm a product of that too. I won't bore everybody with the same old story. I've told it numerous times here. But what I'm trying to do is give people a look into your world and things that, you know, maybe you were surprised by. Maybe something that, you know, has really worked in your journey as you're leading this and as you're adding people. And I have a way of asking 5 questions at once and pretending like it was one question. So I'm going to stop there, sir, and I'll let you answer that because I can see the gears are turning above your head. My augmented reality is watching all the gears come together.
So I want to be real right now. I want to be, because I don't know what else to be. Like if you don't like this, I'm sorry. I don't have any other gears, but when it comes to something like this, but like I enjoy listening to podcasts, and I'll just be honest, I like it when podcasts have stuff to say that's like, oh, yeah, that's so good. Oh, it's so good. Want to apply that. Can you use that? And so I'm halfway sitting here thinking like, I don't want this podcast to go by. And it's like, I haven't been able to say anything that's like, oh yeah, I want to use that. That's so good. That's great. So I'm not trying to filter everything through that, but I kind of am. So there you go.
I've already clocked like 8 reels out of this conversation, and we're only 40 minutes in.
Wow. Oh my goodness. It's already been 40 minutes.
You're dropping banger on banger. So go ahead.
Okay. So something that I've learned. I feel like I'm learning every day. I tell you, boy, when I was young, especially like when I was getting started in ministry right out of my internship, especially where I did an internship, I just got to be honest with you. I felt like I could go anywhere and you want me to be at your church because I will only make it better. Dude, I was so cocky. And the honest reality is because where we did do our internship, like right out of the gate, internship, zero experience in ministry, just because of how ministry is perceived and especially being a children's pastor, where youth pastors tend to be a dime a dozen. Sorry, youth pastors, but I can say that because I was one for several years. But children's pastors aren't really. So quite literally, and because of the connections we had that first year, moving into ministry, we had 7 offers to go anywhere in the nation. That
you and your wife,
my wife and
Kristen,
I, yeah, we could go anywhere in the nation, and we landed in Springfield, Missouri. We didn't move; that's where we were. So, at least for that time. So I say all that to say, boy, I was so cocky, and one of the biggest things I've learned is, and this probably isn't too inspirational, but the more that I've done in my life, the more that I have, quote unquote, accomplished or failed at or succeeded with or whatever, is I understand that the longer I do this, the less I actually know. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
25 years ago, I knew everything, man. I knew everything. What's that sign? I saw a sign one time that said, hire a teenager quick while they still know everything. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I'd never heard that one before, man.
They do. Teenagers.
Accurate.
Yeah. Teenagers know everything. So hire them quick while you can. Yeah.
Woo.
Dude, here I am now. I'm a month away, almost to probably by the time this thing airs, I don't know, I'll be 45 years old. Dude, I feel like I don't know much. But here's the thing. It's in those moments where you're going through if you want to call it a hardship, if you want to call it a trial, or I don't know.
Season.
A season. This is my season. Slap your own label on it. I don't care. You're learning things that you may not even understand you're learning.
Say that again.
You are learning things you may not even know and understand or can articulate that you're learning. And I just had this example happen to me last week. So I'm sitting in the studio in here. Another guy that we know, Ryan, comes by, and he just has some questions about marketing.
He's here right now.
I think he's actually in there talking to
right now.
So he just had some questions about marketing. And I was like, yeah, come by. We'll talk through it. He wanted to kind of know what all we did, how it worked, this, that, and the other. And he had some really great questions. And I'm literally just sitting there just talking to him. Well, Corey is in the next room. And he hears, he's not trying to listen, but he's listening. You know how Corey do.
Yep.
He comes around the corner and he's like, "Are you recording this right now?" And I'm like, why would I be recording this? He said, because everything that's coming out of your mouth at this moment is straight fire. And I was like, you know how you do. Like, come on, dude. I'm just talking. But I had to take a second. You know what I ended up doing? I actually ended up turning my phone on and I recorded the rest part of that conversation. Because there are times you have to take a step back and go, okay, hold on just a minute. I didn't say that about me. I'm not trying to tell myself that this is straight fire. Somebody else just hearing a conversation came in and said, this is worth noting. This is worth regurgitating and sharing somewhere. This stuff is valuable that other people need to hear. And I just want to say to people right now, there are times you got to let other people speak something into your life and you just take a step back for a moment and go, okay, maybe there's something there that you understand, that you have something within you from the path and the journey and the seasons that you have gone through that can speak into somebody's life that you have no idea right now. And if you would just let those experiences come through and you open your mouth and use your voice to put words to it, you don't know who may be impacted because of what you've had to walk through.
I waited, first off, absolutely beautiful. And that was part of the genesis of this podcast, because I was having conversations on my front lawn with my neighbors who run businesses. I was having conversations with you and Corey, and done is better than perfect. And we were joking the other day on Instagram about how there's going to be AI podcasters soon. And how do you know that KCBC is run by a human? It's because of my, and this idea though, that we, and just, my God, I could extrapolate that entire thing, because I've been the person that Corey said that stuff to. I've been the guy for Corey before that have said, "Hey, do you realize how good that sounds?" Yeah. Because
can I just say real quick too?
Please drop. Yeah.
Sometimes we need to be that person in somebody else's life. If you feel that, don't hesitate. Don't keep your mouth shut. Say something to somebody, because it may be in that moment. I'll tell you, last week I needed to hear that from him. I needed to hear that. And now talking about it again, I hadn't thought about it until right now. I'll just tell you, the morning that I've had, I needed to hear that today. I need to remember that and go, okay, there are people out there who believe in me and what I'm doing and think what I'm doing is good. No matter how I feel about myself, my feelings are going to lie to me. I have to know that, understand that, and go, what is the actual truth, depending on who cares how I feel. So I just want to say that. Sometimes you need to be that voice into somebody's life. Don't hold that back. Go ahead. Sorry.
I could not agree more. And I would, I started that by saying I held back for years. I kept my face off social media. I kept my opinions off social media. I kept my conversations with my buddies. Even family conversations with people in my church network and all that stuff. And part of this was that season is over and I'm going to stop and I'm just going to see what freaking happens if I buy this silly little piece and start recording conversations. And so far, the stuff that's come out of these conversations, I know that it's been meaningful to people. And even when it feels like what we're doing is not meaningful, somebody is finding meaning in it. And the same thing we give the critics and we give the haters. Teddy Roosevelt said, it's not the critic that counts, it's the person in the arena doing battle. They are the ones who are giving it their best shot, and though they try hard, they might fail. I was reading Micah 7:8 the other day. Don't gloat over me, my enemies. If I fall, I will rise again.
Right, yeah.
And so I think, all that to say, I love how you have learned to trust the other folks in your life that know you. You've surrounded yourself with wise counsel, right?
So important.
And you're listening to those voices.
That's right. I actually learned that in counseling. Can I just take a moment and make it?
You can take whatever moment
whether this
you want.
Is a brief commercial, whatever. Look, you can say what you want, think what you want. I believe everybody, and when I say everybody, what I really mean is everybody needs counseling, can benefit from counseling. I truly believe that. I grew up with this mindset of if you needed counseling, then you weren't letting Jesus do it.
Which is a lie straight
BS.
From hell.
That's BS. I think we all need counseling. That is so now, and I for me, godly Christian counseling, right? So it still points back to Jesus is the one that does the work in me. I need him to. But also giving me tools to help me help myself. I don't know if I want to say it like that, but tools to help me understand, right? Romans 12:2, to be transformed by the renewing of my mind, right? Tools to help me do that. So one of the exercises was, just because of some stuff I was dealing with, and I'm an open book. We can get into all that if you want to, but it's probably here nor there for this podcast. But was to go talk to 5 people that I trusted the most and ask them What are the things that you see in me when you think about me, look at me, whatever? What do you see in me? And so through those 5 people, there were a few things that kept coming up and I didn't ask them all at the same time. It was different times, whatever. These were people that didn't necessarily talk to each other. But there were things that continued to come up, and it was things that as I was dealing with me, things that I wanted to believe about myself, but I was struggling to believe about myself because I thought, well, right, that's not true. That's selfish. You're full of yourself, whatever. You want to be that, but here we are again. You're an imposter, all right? But hearing those people that I actually trust at different occasions speak that into me, and this goes back to what we were just talking about. Like if is hearing that over and over and over and writing it down, it makes you go, and part of the exercise is stop and think about that. If that's what people are saying about you, the people that truly know you, again, whether you feel it's right or wrong, that's how people perceive you. You've done something to cause them to feel that way about you. And I think you got to go there. There's certainly truth in that. There's a 100% truth in that.
There's a couple of, lessons in there in what you're talking about and how it relates to marketing, right? What people are saying about your company, whether you think they're right or wrong, or now I'm butchering the Henry Ford quote there, but on the subject of that and about listening to, like we're talking about as a business owner, as a person, as a husband, a father, somebody who's serving other people in the community, but also as a business. And when you're talking about Romans, do not conform to the patterns of this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And Armor being a company that equips businesses for the content battlefield.
Right.
So let's talk about that conforming to the patterns of this world thing, because YouTube and TikTok and LinkedIn and everywhere is full of all this advice about the algorithm and what you need to do to appease the algorithm. And, I posted about this the other day on LinkedIn. Like, I used to play in a band, and I remember the people that were the most meaningful to me were the 50 in the front that would buy the merch and sing all the lyrics, and all the people in the back. It was nice to have them there, but it's a lot like on LinkedIn. You see your post has 2,500 impressions.
Right.
And there's 25 likes or whatever.
Right.
And so
Hopefully.
people feel this need to like feed that machine. And I know, man, we could go on for that forever, but how do you and Mark Armour marketing, like how do you guys help companies with that?
Yeah. So first I would say, forget the algorithm. Forget it.
Thank you.
Throw it out the window. And here's why. Because it changes all the time.
How often?
Well, what I mean by that is all the time.
Like when you said, I mean all people.
Everybody.
I mean all people.
Everybody. No, it could be a week. It could be a day. It could be this hour to that hour. You have zero control over that. So take the word algorithm, write it on a piece of paper, crumple it up, throw it in the trash, light it on fire, whatever you want to do. Forget it. Just toss it. Just who cares? So and I think we talked about this Friday too, and I love it. Mr. Beast said, you got to, and man, that guy, you want to talk about somebody that knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
You got to take the word algorithm and replace it, switch it for audience. Just because your video, your content isn't doing well doesn't mean that, well, it's not going viral and people just aren't going to like it or whatever. No, it's because your content's not engaging. It's not engaging your audience. If your content were engaging your audience, you wouldn't have as much to worry about. So I think, yeah, we got to get out of the algorithm this, got to appease the algorithm this and the other. I think the other thing that people need to understand is all of these platforms, they are businesses, and their number one is they're trying to make money. So I think you said this the other day, if it's free, you're the product. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. So they're still trying to make money, and they're going to do the things that they need to do to make sure that their business continues to thrive. And that's the way these apps are designed. They're designed to keep you on them. So you want your content to be engaging. But again, don't feel like you have to be engaging to every single person. You don't. You got to engage your audience where they are, right? If you try to get everybody, chances are you're going to reach nobody. So you got to engage your audience where they are. And so don't worry as much about what the algorithm is doing, because I think even the guys that wrote the algorithm, they're at a point now where they don't even know what the algorithm is doing. It's almost like it's got a mind of its own. But I will say it all goes back to their business staying top and front of mind, just like we're trying to do. So, but social media is a great tool for it. And can you do it for absolutely no dollars? 100%. It's one of the greatest marketing things that we have probably ever seen, because we can have the potential to get in front of millions of people for no dollars at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, there's a
Did
lot.
I answer the initial question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I
okay.
asked about conforming to the patterns of this world,
Yeah,
and just that perception of social media and how to use it in a business. And,
Yeah.
posting frequency, and there's all those things, man. I mean, I've worked on HR teams and recruitment teams, and people would get a lot of crap if they weren't posting on their LinkedIns. And there's this it's a mindset of expectation almost of what you should and how you should do it. But I think what you're saying too is, like, even the companies, like, they aren't sure, right? I mean, or they're sure of what they need to do to keep their business thriving. YouTube, for example, they opened up monetization of shorts earlier this year, which then ipso facto, the platform was flooded with shorts. And as I've been using it with KCBC, I can put a reel up, and then once the podcast episode launches, I can link the short to a video, and we can use tags, and we can use, there's all this functionality that's constantly released.
Yeah. But it's still marketing. At the end of the day, it's still marketing. Right. So there are things that work. There are things that work better than others. And I think that's part of the fun, is to help you discover what works for you. And if it works today, it might not work tomorrow, and that's okay, which is why we create custom content. We don't just create a video for, let's say, like, I don't know, a general contractor, and then just go, well, we're going to slap your logo at the end of it because the rest of the video is generic. That's not what we do. We create it for your business. Whether you're in the video or we're bringing in talent to be on screen, it's your stuff. But it's still marketing, right? So, so you still have to have kind of an idea of, hey, we're gonna put something out there. We're gonna analyze it, and that word sounds so scary sometimes. Oh, and we gotta analyze it. Sometimes it means looking at it and go, hey, that had more likes than that. What did we do? Can we do that again? And will it get, or can we, that one did well, this one didn't do well. Maybe it was just the title. Okay, change the title and repost it. And sometimes you just, that's all it takes. But I would say that consistency is a good thing. I would also say, from a business standpoint, post as often as you can. Right. For some people, they can't post very often. All right, we'll still be consistent and make sure that if you can only post one time in a week, that your content is still authentically who you are.
Right.
The more you can post, the more eyeballs it's going to be in front of. So, and just because something may be going slow doesn't mean it's not working.
Right.
And you kind of mentioned it a little earlier in the podcast, but this type of marketing is not a sprint. Again, that's why we don't try to, we're going to make a viral video. No, we aren't. I don't need it to just one time explode and then nobody cares anymore. I need it to be over time where your audience knows you're there. They know you're there. They know you're there. And the audience base grows, so that even if you aren't necessarily, everybody's going to like, that as you step out and you're answering these questions and you're bringing value and you're putting it in front of folks, that if somebody needs your service and you've been out in front of them for 12 months and now it's time for I need a new deck. You know who I see all the time and they know what they're doing because I've seen all their videos and they have all the answers? I'm going to call them.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, like who really cares how many hearts show up on your Instagram post if your dollars in the bank are where they need to be, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. Going back to that whole discussion of ROI, yes, you as a business, you got to make money if you're going to keep your doors open. But when it comes to the usage of social media and using that as an avenue for marketing, you can't directly, at least in the beginning, go, well, we paid to create 60 videos this month. Where's the dollar amount? That's not if ROI, if your return on investment, the only thing you're looking at is from a monetary standpoint, you're missing so many things that you should be looking at. Again, it goes back to building the audience. So
right.
How many impressions has it made? How many times are people, well, maybe, I saw that video today, but then I'm going to see that video tomorrow. And so your ROI there is you're building the audience base and you're creating a health to it.
Well, that's something you can help people with companies do as well
100%.
is make a compelling case to the money people in the company as to why this is important, right? Mm-hmm. And on that subject, as we're going into 2024, I'm starting to see all these marketing influencers, their predictions for what's going to need to be important. And I've been watching you guys. I watch you. I subscribe to your updates. I make sure the notification bell is on all of your social media. So your LinkedIn, your Instagram, all that stuff. And that means sometimes I see the same thing 3 times. Mm-hmm. But again, I need to hear things typically, I think, 5 or 6 times before they take hold. Everybody's talking about what's going to be big in 2024. I think what do you think your guys' focus is going to be? Or maybe you've started doing some new things. And I know of a couple in my mind, but what's going to be important for companies in terms of marketing and social media strategy, and not even just pigeonholing it to social media. Because again, that's not the only way, right? There's blogs, there's videos, there's a learning center, there's, but what do you think is going to be big?
Yeah. Well, something that we've kind of grabbed onto is, and you've heard me talk about it a few times now, is this whole, it really comes out of a book from Marcus Sheridan, and it's called They Ask, You Answer.
Mm.
It's a whole thing. Go check it out, look it up, read the book. I did. It set me on fire.
We'll make sure we tag all the books and links and stuff.
It set me on fire for it, and that's what this is. It's putting together all this content, blog posts, videos of answering these questions, making sure they're in a place that people can find them. So like host them on your website, to where you are creating videos that answer questions. You're doing like top 10 lists, you're doing best in class, you're doing all this stuff. And you might even go, I think this is a big thing to say. I know that I'm not for everybody, right? I'm not going to appeal to everybody. I'm not trying to. And you won't either as a business owner. Your business isn't going to appeal to everybody. But if you still are the expert in your field to go, well, you may not use me for this, but I know somebody else who is going to meet your requirements better, I'm going to point you to them. Well, now you've really set yourself apart as a thought leader and an expert in that field, because it's not just about greedy. I'm just going to take it because you have money to spend. That's not, you gotta look at it and say, this isn't for you, but I know what is for you. So I think that is a big deal for businesses. I don't think enough businesses are doing that. They're all self-focused, which is, again, you gotta be doing something to make money. But at the same time, it can't all be inward. You got to look at the community as a whole. And again, that's what Armor Marketing, we really want to see the community that we are placed in. We want to see as many businesses succeed as possible, which is why we're doing what we're doing, because I want our economic stability to grow within the community that I'm in. And so, what's the saying that high tide, all boats rise together, or whatever that saying is. So
absolutely.
So that's what I believe. And that's why we're trying to not just be, I don't want to be the only marketing agency in town, but I do want to be an expert at knowing how I can help you the best succeed as a business.
That's how I know I'm getting the right people on this show, because every guest to date, if they haven't said it in the podcast, they've said it after we recorded or something, but they are of an abundance mindset.
Yeah.
They are not there's no spirit of lack on them, but they're like, I want other businesses in my area to succeed, because guess what? When that happens, we all do well. And, we've seen it too. Like, I'm not going to go down the Kansas City rabbit hole, because there's plenty, like Kansas City Area Development Council, KCADC. They're like the marketing arm for Kansas City region, and they do this all the time. So if you guys are looking for a good resource, they're awesome. When I just got my start here, I went through their materials. They helped me build recruiting material for the companies I work for in the area. But there's companies that are documenting all that stuff. But I've seen you do that. And so we're in a networking group, and I've watched you reach out to everyone, myself included. And that stuff is contagious, man. Like, that's made me want to give to other people and find a way. And it's like, it just sets this new standard of like, Phil is doing that with I keep saying Mark. I don't know why. Right. With Armor Marketing. Like, that's the level I want to rise to, and it's just, I feel like you're setting a new standard for etiquette as well. What's one of the most interesting paths you've taken with a business recently that maybe they didn't expect, for content or a campaign?
Man, I don't know how to answer that the best. So I will say that, like for here, we're helping Kingdom Studios with their marketing. When we started with their marketing, it was we're marketing to photographers a lot, mostly, which was fine, but it switched in there because of the magnitude of this studio, of what this facility actually is. It's great for photographers, and they still come in all the time, and they should. But we realized there are bigger fish that you probably should be marketing this to, like full-on production companies, like a film creative. And so, because I am one of those companies, I was able to say to Corey, "Hey, brother, let's create this type of marketing for the bigger production companies, and not only just the photographers. If we turn our attention to that, you'll still get the photographers, but you'll also get these bigger production houses, which in turn is only helping him fuel the dream he really has for this place."
Absolutely.
So I don't know if that's what you're asking, but
yeah, and you're kind of getting into another thing that you've been helping businesses do, which is set up podcasts. And you and I have talked about this lately. Like, this has been one of the big things that a lot of people are saying is like, I think it was Kevin O'Leary, the one from Shark Tank? He said he used to pay people $25,000 a year to be their, marketing person or content. He's like, now he can't find one for under $250,000 a year. And he's like, if you're going to get into a field, like, be a content creator or do that for companies and businesses. Now, in the same token, there's people like me. I was the last guy that ever thought I should have a podcast, but I was a huge fan of podcasts, right? And so you're starting to offer that as an add-on and a main feature for clients you serve. So
that's right.
I just thought about that. Have you had any interesting people that are doing podcasts or doing a podcast type format for their companies?
So we have one currently. So we haven't, we've kind of always had it as an add-on on our membership, but we haven't really pushed it very hard yet, just because we were still in the process of trying to get things set up and equipment and gear and what have you. So, but we just started one for Kansas City real producers, which they market to the top 500 real estate agents in the Kansas City metro. Now, we've been doing their video marketing since they started here in the fall of 2018. But look, I mean, it's everything. As you run a business, things evolve. This was a evolution of kind of where we started with what we were doing with them to what we just. The first episode for them, that podcast, hasn't even come out yet. Like we have it in the can, but it's not even released yet. So, but it's this deal of the business partners that are connected to the publication, sitting down and interviewing them, talking to them, just asking fun questions. We want to get their name out there to the real estate community, but also just to have a good time and funny questions, fun questions, whatever. Kind of, it's like we just want to talk and chit chat and throw some ideas around and back and forth. And so that one has been super fun. And we have yet to see how that's going to hit the audience, but we think from what the content of that podcast was, we think it's going to be pretty fire. So we're excited about that one. So that, that's that one. Real producers, Kansas City real producers.
That is so cool. It just keeps coming back to authenticity as well. Wanted to ask you about. Let's see. We talked about how you network. Okay. So for business owners too, and especially people out there that have been affected by layoffs now, and maybe their LinkedIn connections are at like 30 or 40 people, and they're like, oh my gosh, for the first time in my life, I need to start networking with people. You've got kind of an interesting approach to networking. I know you've got a group or maybe a couple groups that you're a part of or you've been a part of, but one of your strategies is being friendly.
Yeah. I mean,
and so how did you make connections, in this space, and how do you do that? Because, it's ongoing. It's a journey.
So I have a philosophy, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, when it comes to meeting people.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can set this up properly. I don't know. I was going to say mall, but that kind of dates me. Malls aren't really too much of a thing anymore.
We've got a mall around here, but you go in there and
they're all dying.
I swear I saw a tumbleweed blow by.
That's right. So let's not use that. I don't know. Just your favorite cafe or your favorite coffee shop, and you're sitting in there and you're just chilling or whatever. And the person at the table next to you or sitting in the chair across the way, you don't know them. But what is keeping you from being their best friend?
What?
Oh, I don't know. It starts with a conversation.
There we go.
Right? It starts with a conversation. But I think a lot of us are afraid to maybe approach somebody because, they're a stranger. Well, it would only take about 30 seconds for that person to not be a stranger anymore. And you don't know what kind of relationship might develop out of that, from personal, business, whatever. But I think about that a lot. Like the only difference between quote unquote strangers and people that are in my life that I have relationships with, the only difference from most of that is I haven't been introduced to strangers yet. That sounds simple to me. I don't know. But I do. I think about that a lot. So I try to, places I go, just constantly meet people. And it's not even from, I'm looking for a business connection. It's just, why shouldn't we be friends? Why shouldn't I know you? So let's talk. Let's see if there's anything that connects. Some of them turn into business connections. Not all of them. Some of them turn into, we're going to get coffee together once a month or something. So I think, that's, for me, networking is more than just, I'm just trying to shake a hand to get a business deal out of it. It really, truly is. There's not much stopping us from legitimately having relationship with the person we don't know in the coffee shop, if that makes any sense at all.
Absolutely. Well, my default setting, I'm kind of wired that way too, and I've gone back and forth with friends, and Corey included. He asked me one time, are you an introvert or an extrovert? And I was like, I'm an ambivert, but I got introvert leanings. But for me, it's a switch. And if I'm in a public place and we're sitting next to each other and we both got our faces in our phone. I'm totally cool with making it a little uncomfortable and saying, hey, so what are you doing here? We've been waiting for a long time. First world problems. Am I right?
Right.
Just saying, goofball stuff, but I like connecting with people. Who are some people and maybe some business owners that you'd like to get connected with? Like, when we're talking about your audience, so I know you've mentioned, you're obviously hooked in with real estate agents. You're hooked in with contractors. I've noticed a lot of your content. Who's that part of the business world, or what do they do that you're just kind of, if not itching to get in touch with, that you feel like Armor would be a great fit for?
Okay, so this one, I'm not, like, in my heart I want to, but and after just saying all I just said about having a real connection and not about being a business transaction.
And I know I took us down that road. Yeah.
Well, you're fine. But at the end of the day, I also have to go, I'm trying to run a business too.
That's right.
So I have to I'm trying to think of this as like, would this truly be the direction I want to go? I think it would be a blast to do content creation for like a real swanky restaurant, like a cool, like, dive or something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I'm such a foodie, which shows. I mean, I'm trying to work on that, but I don't know. Like, I've done a few bits before for like, I did this thing through Kansas City Real Producers for Julep Bar. Real short. We kind of did it out of fun, but oh man, it was so fun. I've done some work for Another Broken Egg in Overland Park.
We went there for breakfast one time, right?
Yeah. Okay. Which is why we went there, because I called her. Whatever. So, but we did some stuff for them and did showcasing some of their dishes. And I don't know. For me, I think you can set it up to where it photographs and videos real well, and just is like making food super sexy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know how that would go I don't know.
Well, let's talk about that. How would that go, Phil? If I'm running a swanky restaurant and I'm like, man, we gotta get some stuff figured out. What approach would you take?
Well, I would take the same approach that we do. I guess what I'm saying is, like, does the restaurant, I don't know. I don't want to make anybody mad and stereotype, but the what do they call them? Not foodie, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just restaurateurs. Like, there's so much going on with their brains and their business all the time. Like, they're trying to just get orders up and serve customers and things like that.
It's a service-based business.
It is.
The demand is always going to be the first priority.
Right. So I say all that to say, for me, like, we can want to work with anybody, but do they want to work with us? And I say that, I don't know. People right now might be going, well, duh. What I mean by that is, are you at a place in your business where you are legitimately willing to put resource and commitment into this? Because even if we run the service for you as it truly is a done for you, where you don't really have to think about it, we just do it for you, you still have to have a commitment in your heart and your head to say, I know that I need this and this has to be done. If you aren't there, I'm not for you. I'm not a business for you right now. You've got to get to that place to where even if you know nothing about it and you are almost scared of social media or whatever, that you still know that you need to do this. So, I don't know if that's the train has jumped the tracks in my brain, or where we were going with that. But I think that's important. I can want to work with you all day long.
Right.
And I'm open to working with just about anybody, but you got to want to work with me for it to work.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Just on the subject of, you'd love to work with a really swanky restaurant. Obviously we've got them here in Kansas City.
Oh my.
By
the hundreds.
I've heard from people, and maybe you can confirm this because I've been here for almost 9 years now. Is this the best time to be in Kansas City?
I would say that it is a really great time to be here. Yes, I would. For lots of reasons.
Yeah, hit me.
I don't know if I want to talk about all of them.
Sure. Maybe one or two.
Yeah. There's some that I don't want to talk about.
Sure.
But from my viewpoint in industry, Kansas City, as of late, and I say as of late, in the past 5 years or so, has become, and maybe a little longer, but has become more and more a place that even, I would say, like Hollywood is looking to shoot films and hire people from and things like that. Of course, we all know it's been California, New York, Chicago, Atlanta.
The coasts.
Right. Well, it's coming, and it's been coming to Kansas City. And I think there's been a few things to help that. Of course, one of the things is the sports stage that we now get to play on, starting back in 2014 with the Royals. Unfortunate for them that they haven't kept that up. But starting with that and moving over to the Chiefs, and we won't talk about their season so far this year, but what they have
or last night.
Okay. What they've been doing these past several years, yeah, I mean, people are taking notice of Kansas City like they've never taken notice before. And because of that, not only is it just, cool sports team, but now people are looking to this place as a hub for business. And so it goes back to what I've already said, that when the tide rises, all boats rise together. We are experiencing that as a community, that businesses are starting to really thrive here because the United States attention is finally pointing to the heart of America, as it were.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are just a few of the things that I see for why Kansas City is on the rise. And I don't think it's, from what I can tell, unless something drastic happens, that it's going to slow down anytime soon. So
absolutely. So we've discussed a lot of great topics here, and I mean, you're one of those people like I'm gonna have on the show again.
Yeah,
okay,
man.
so there will be a part 2, maybe a part 3. Is there anything that we didn't cover today, or something that's come up to you as we've been talking that you feel like you want to get off your chest, or let listeners know about?
I have a question for listeners. It is this: what would stop you as a business owner from utilizing a company like Armor Marketing? So we go back to, this baby is only 8 months old, right? We officially signed all the papers and did all the things and LLC and yada, yada, yada on February 28th, 2023. 8 months, right? It was 8 months, the 28th of November. So February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. No, it's 9. It is 9. It's 9 months. I've had quite a few conversations in 9 months. We have some phenomenal clients that we are working with and absolutely love dearly. We have the capacity at the moment for a couple more. And through a couple more, we'll be able to create capacity for even more, right? The whole plan to scale is limitless at the moment, is what it seems like to me anyway. But that's how I'm a visionary, right? So I look at things and I could paint the biggest picture. And then I have to have people in my life, like my wife, that is on board with the vision, but then it's like, great, how are we going to do that? And I'm like, well, that's why you're here. You're going to help with the detail.
Right.
Anyway, but I've had a lot of conversations, and I mean, and unless it's just business owners and people, blowing smoke, most everybody's like, what an incredible service. I know lots of businesses that need what you are offering. And then, in the last couple months, it's like, well, great. Where are those businesses, and why have they not said yes to this yet? So for me, it's all about, I love the psychology of the human brain. And so, what would that be to say, yes, we see your service. We know it's a great one, but we're not going to utilize it. So just why? Just
So what I'm going to do is, and this will be a first on Kansas City Business Cast, but as I've been doing this, I've realized the strengths and weaknesses, and maybe this is something you already know, but if not, you'll learn for the first time. If it is something you'll hear it again, and this is me practicing it out loud. But Spotify is among the best as far as interaction goes because I can add questions and polls to my episodes. So first off, my friend, I will be adding that question as a polling question on Spotify. And because I see you every day, and I think you know where I live, if not, I'll get you at my address. Yeah. I will be reporting out on that to you. I also am going to ask listeners to, because this will be in the comments section on YouTube. I'm trying to get more engagement on YouTube, and I understand that's my fault because I don't have video, and I don't care about thumbnails yet, but I'm going to because I got Phil here to keep my ass in line.
Say you need to.
But I'm going to add that, and my challenge to you all, and as if Phil's question wasn't a challenge enough, as entrepreneurs, we find some of our best ideas. We reverse engineer some of our best services and offerings and find our best people to go on mission in our businesses with based on reasons for, rejecting or resistance. I actually have a friend, Joey. Joey Williams talked about this on episode 2, but his almost entire service model came from resistance from a very high profile client. And he just said, what would it take for you to work with me or to go against this model? And he, not my story to tell. Go back to episode 2, everybody. But, I think that's just a brilliant note to kind of sign off with on this show. And it's just such an honor to have you on KCBC, man.
I appreciate it, man.
I just feel like this is exactly why I started this, because I know people, there's conversations we've had where it's like, oh yeah, we should have recorded it, but now we've both got vehicles to do that.
Yep.
So Phil, really appreciate you.
Thanks,
Anything
Michael.
else, sir?
Let me just say this, and I think it again, and why we've started a podcast on the other side of this wall, right?
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of people out there with a lot of great information, just waiting for you to ask them some questions. So, man, an honor to be on this show. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm looking forward to already listen to the snippets, because same for me, like, something I get notified when you put something out there on Instagram and things like that.
Appreciate
so
that.
Trying to like all of them and comment. That's a big one, folks. Comment on when you see your friends doing stuff, comment on it. That's a big deal. We already told you to throw away the word algorithm, but it helps drive views. So, right, check it out. But anyway, so yeah, thanks. I think this is a big deal. I think it's a big deal for right now in this time and in Kansas City. And I'm honored to be part of and know somebody who is on the front lines taking on this challenge. So appreciate you, Michael. Thanks so much.
Iron sharpens iron. All right, everybody, you heard it. Support your friends like you do the celebrities you don't even know. Thank you for joining the Kansas City Business Cast. Again, hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. After this episode, definitely start checking the questions, the comments, the polling, the things that I'm going to be adding to these episodes out there. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.